Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and this is a pretty exciting podcast for me. At the Sherman Oaks Film Festival in 2021, we showed there was an official selection called Invisible, the Unseen Faces of Hunger in Kern. It's a wonderful documentary. And so you watch this wonderful documentary. Oh, by the way, humble brag or straight out brag, Sherman Oaks Film Festival was the world premiere. And I am looking at a Zoom screen with sadly my face, but then also 6 more wonderful faces. So I am going to let the 6 people introduce themselves. I think we'll probably start, and Time for Change. I guess you can explain Time for Change. I assume Dixie will go first, and then you can just take turns introducing yourselves.
Sure. So I'm Dr. Dixie King, and I am the Executive Director of Transitional Youth Mobilizing for Change, TYM, Time for Change. And we started into documentary filmmaking sort of by accident, and I'm sure we'll end up talking about that. It's been a great honor working with these young people on the film.
All right, who wants to just go ahead and throw your hand up so everyone knows you're talking? Next person want to introduce?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie Magana. I was working with Time for Change for almost 2 years, and I'm studying communications in Mexico. I moved to the United States 4 years ago, and I've been learning a lot with Time for Change about the community and all the power that just one organization can, the voice that we can have in the community and help them to grow in different areas. That's me.
Wonderful. Henry, you want to go?
Yeah. All right. So, hi, my name is Henry. I've been with Time for Change kind of since the beginning. I too kind of stumbled into film by accident, and then I ended up really enjoying it. As it turns out, I'm not sure what to say. Sorry.
No worries. It's, I didn't go through an explanation yet of the film. So if someone's listening, as soon as we finish the introductions, I promise to talk about how great the film is more specifically. But I'll just say, how about Izzy now?
Hi, I'm Izzy Zamora, and I'm one of the Time for Change team members that was working in the documentary. And I was more so kind of not so much in the editing process, but in the background doing some of the research, the interviews, and so forth. But I just think it was a great, wonderful opportunity, and we're super lucky to be here today with you. So thank you.
Thank you. And in the credits of the film, Isabel B. Zamora is listed as one of the writers too. So you got a writer credit on the film. Excellent. All right. Nicholas?
Yeah, hi, my name is Nicholas. I'm an independent filmmaker and an alumni of Time for Change. And I'm so honored to be here. I love film so much. I love the topic of what our film was about so much. And it just makes me so happy to be with you guys today.
Wonderful. And we got one more wonderful face on Zoom, Penelope.
Hi, you guys. I'm Penelope Dills. I've been with Time for Change for around 2 years now. I think it's been a little bit over that. It's crazy. I kind of came right around the time when filming was up. We were filming Invisible. And I was able to go through a lot of film training. My dad has actually worked with Time for Change previously, and I got connected through that. And so I always was really interested in film and art in general. Once I came to Time for Change, I was able to share, not only my love of, service projects and helping people and working with that, but also be able to get, training for film and be able to actually, do a lot of really cool hands-on things, which led me to find out what my passion is, film and photography. So it's been a wonderful journey.
That's excellent. That's wonderful that this documentary has also inspired people's interest in film. But okay, now I'm just gonna explain the film quickly. It's so easy to do, actually. It's so well made. And by the way, I've been doing a podcast binge because Invisible, The Unseen Faces of Hunger in Kern is part of the Discover Indie Film TV series, which I normally should have said in the introduction, but I'm looking at a Zoom screen with like 7 faces. So anyway, the Discover Indie Film TV series on Amazon Prime Video, season 6 comes out on September 15th, and Invisible, The Unseen Faces of Hunger in Kern is the 10th episode. And whenever a new season comes out, I got to record a whole bunch of podcasts in like a short amount of time with everyone there's 20 films in that season. It's a TV series on Amazon Prime that just has short films handpicked from the festival circuit, and it's got drama and art house and comedy, sci-fi, pretty much everything, including documentary. And every person who's either been on Zoom or come over to the house to record a podcast, when I mention Invisible to them, and I just say, it's a documentary shot in California, which is, of course, pretty much the breadbasket of California and the United States of America. I think more food is made in the Central Valley of California than anywhere else in the country, and that the people working there can't afford food. And as soon as you tell people that it's a documentary about that, and that farm workers are starving even though they allow us to eat, everyone just looks at me and says, oh, I can't wait to see that film. So bravo to everyone. I'm doing a golf clap for you all. And it's up to you. I guess everyone, we did introductions. So I imagine, Dixie, do you want to take the lead and talk about how Time for Change came together as an organization before the film did?
Sure. And I have to say, we had no intention of doing filmmaking originally. We worked, I was through my business, I was part of a project up in a neighboring county in which we worked with transition age youth, 16 to 24. And in that case, we actually ended up working with Penelope Dill's dad. He's a media arts teacher at a local high school. And we had the idea of doing a documentary because we were working with these young people to really identify some of the mental health issues that were leading to high rates of self-injury and suicide. And these young people spent about 18 months interviewing and filming, and they ended up a little 15-minute documentary that was our first foray into film, again, with Matthew Dill's help. And we were so impressed with the changes we saw in those young people as a result of going through the process. They went out and they did research. They did door-to-door surveying throughout their county. They interviewed people from law enforcement, from health agencies. They interviewed people with mental health issues and mental health providers. And over time, I watched these kids who came in so shy and so lacking knowledge just bloom and completely gain self-confidence and motivation. And all of a sudden, watching the light bulb go on, that they realized that they could make a difference in their community. I came back to Kern County and was talking with some of my colleagues, and I said, we need to do something like this in Kern because this is too important. And watching these kids change in the way that they changed is so stimulating and so inspiring. We need to start. It turns out that Nick Halsey was working in Mr. Dill's class. And so he actually came up with Mr. Dill's and did a little bit of filming with us and was part of that project. And Henry was also part of that class. And so when I came back and started talking about starting Time for Change, they jumped on the bandwagon along with a few others. And we started it in very tail end of 2018 is when we got our status as a nonprofit. And then in 2019, we launched. So we're still a very young organization. We were lucky enough to have AmeriCorps members come on board. And for those who are not familiar with that, it's sort of the American Peace Corps. And Jackie and Izzy were members of that group who came on board to help us. Their training ended in February of 2020, and we had a pandemic that hit in March of 2020. So literally, they were on board for 2 weeks when the pandemic hit. As frontline workers, we were already interested actually in food insecurity. But as frontline workers, they ended up on the front lines out in the community doing food distribution and working in the local food bank. And as a result, we got even more interested because we thought this might be the perfect opportunity to destigmatize the concept of being in a food line, because people found themselves in food lines who never expected in their lifetimes to ever be in one. And so our entire team of youth and AmeriCorps members started conducting surveys and interviews. And out of that was the concept of, let's do a documentary on food insecurity.
Amazing. Wonderful. Right. So it's such a confluence of inputs, right? Because it was finding how inspiring documentary can be for the people who make documentary, particularly young people, and then discovering the food insecurity problem. And then did a light bulb go off immediately that a documentary on this subject should happen?
Well, laughably, we were thinking a 7-minute short. And as you know, it ended up becoming a 40-minute documentary, and it was longer than that to begin with. But, once we started in, and I'm going to let our young people talk about this, but, once we started in, there was a bigger story to tell than I think we realized. And maybe I'll pass the baton. Nick, would you like to jump in and talk a little bit, and then I'll let you pass the baton on as well?
Yeah, when we first started, we were talking about, a 7-minute short. Maybe it was going to be about 10 minutes. And we were just kind of discuss and bring up awareness around the topic of food insecurity. But it was funny because, we kept adding to the script and then saying, okay, well, this needs to be included too. And then we got to add this in. And then I was telling Dixie, I'm like, hey, like we're at like 14 minutes. I don't know if we can really add more. And she was like, well, the story's got to be told. And I'm like, you're right. And then we just kept adding on, and we discovered more. And the more people we interviewed, the more story we realized there was. It wasn't just down to one factor. It wasn't just down to one situation at hand. There are so many factors that go into food insecurity. And so we wanted to highlight it. And then we didn't even want to just highlight the problem, but we also wanted to highlight the solution. So we kept editing further. We kept filming further. And it went from a very, I would say, short and quick project to something massive, but what I think turned out quite beautifully. And Jackie, did you want to talk any more about that?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I think that it was amazing because the whole process, it was like really, I don't know, I really enjoy it because I really knew like a lot of people in the community. I became like, yeah, we became like a change for them because we interview them, we know their stories, and then we came up with their stories in our film, and that's amazing because we don't only have like the perspective about the food insecurity. We have all the points of view. We have the organizations that are trying to fight for a solution. We have the people that already have that problem in their lives, that they were like be dealing with that for a long time. And as well, we have people in the community that is helping as well in like become a change or to end up that problem that we know that is going to be difficult. Is like a really long process, and we understand and we discovered that in the process of doing this film, because we can talk about food insecurity, but that doesn't mean that we can ended up like having ended up the problem right now. So we need to work on that. We need to, if we have something like simple, you're gonna see it on the documentary, but something simple. If you have like a lot of cans of beans or something like that, and you don't gonna use it, you can give it to someone, and maybe they're gonna use it. They're gonna have something in their tables, and that's amazing. That maybe we are not like we are not like a huge company, but we can try to do like simple things that can help others, and that's amazing. That's the message that we are trying to give the people with the documentary as well. And I don't know who else wants.
Let me jump back in for a moment, and then I'll pass the baton maybe over to Henry. I think Jackie makes an important point here. Farm workers certainly are people who are not making enough money to be food secure. But we have a lot of other people in the community, as you'll see in the film. There are seniors, there are single mothers, there are people from different walks of life, some COVID impacted, but most just struggling on a daily basis. And I think that was one of the important points of the film, is that food insecurity doesn't discriminate. It impacts a lot of different people in a lot of different categories. And these are not people who are lazy. These are not people who are not working. Most of them are working. They're simply not making enough money to be able to be food secure. And I'll pass the baton to Henry to talk a little more.
Yeah, so we were able to interview a lot of people from different walks of life, like Dixie just said, people whose circumstances either were predated COVID or were made worse by COVID, but food insecurity is something that has the ability to affect anyone and everyone. Your one bad paycheck, one loss of income, one getting fired or let go or laid off away from really situations that you wouldn't expect to find yourself in. It's something that I've had to deal with in my early life that we've since been able to, I don't know if overcome is the right word, but we've been able to, we've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to move to a place with more healthy and fresh and other, like, I don't know what the word is, but less junk food and more fresh food, I guess. We were fortunate enough to be able to move out of that area and move into a part of town where we were afforded more opportunities just by living there. And not everyone has that ability. And I'm really grateful that we were able to get out. But I think not enough people understand how difficult it is to go from food insecurity to having like a secure and stable and constant like flow of fresh food when you come from very little. There's a lot of stigma around people who don't have that kind of opportunity, people who are unable to get that kind of opportunity because of the part of town that they live in or because of the social, economic, and racial disparities that are affecting them. And it's really unfortunate that that stigma is there, but that's what we're trying to work past. Invisible is very much about humanizing. What's the word?
The face of hunger?
Yeah, thank you.
It's in the title. Yeah.
Thank you. Invisible is very much about humanizing the face of hunger, seeing these people as people, not just strangers or victims of circumstance or anything, seeing them as people first and foremost, and knowing that they have every right to a more, I don't know if privileged the word. They have every right to being able to get out of that and moving towards a more sustainable future with their food and food supply. Someone is at my door. I'm going to be right back.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to jump in and add that food insecurity, what you learn from the documentary, and I guess we'll avoid getting too political, but there is something I kind of just call American narcissism in my head, which is that you just assume people with problems. A lot of people assume that problems are self-created, and not only they're not self-created, but listening to Henry, I couldn't help but think about the fact that that for decades, or honestly for such a long time, unnutritious food is the least expensive in this country, and stuff that we talk about the unseen face of hunger. But I mean, if you eat complete inexpensive processed junk food every day just to have the calorie count to keep your body alive, is that considered food insecure too? Because you're not getting the basic nutrition that your body needs to be healthy. And of course, oh my God, I don't even want to bring up healthcare, but it also creates diseases and problems that require healthcare that, and what could be worse than for food insecurity than to suddenly have expensive healthcare needs. And now you're choosing between healthcare to save your life and being able to afford food. It feels like a catch-22 for people.
Well, as you saw in the film, we were speaking with one senior who was food insecure because although he had a very high education, he worked as an engineer at one time on a naval air station. He was also diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Despite the fact that he does receive public assistance, his medications run over $1,800 a month. And so he depended on food lines to be able to eat. There are politics involved in these situations. Unfortunately, we have wide swaths of Kern County, which is the second largest agricultural producing county in the United States, that are considered food deserts because nutritious, healthy, and affordable food is not easily accessible to the people living there. If you don't have transportation and you don't have a way of getting to a market that's 5 or 6 miles away, you're dependent then on the corner store that might sell a handful of quote unquote fresh fruits and vegetables that are often substandard, but they're more likely to rely on just exactly what you were talking about, Jeff, the processed foods that are inexpensive and that fill the belly, and at least you're able to sleep at night. But it has outstanding costs in other ways. Think about kids in school who are not getting adequate nutrition, which is why school programs are so important. And it's why California passed a law to provide universal lunches, regardless of income. Just after we produced the film, we were so excited to see that happen. But yeah, people have the right to eat regardless, but access to appropriate foods so that you don't end up with health problems, so that you don't end up with situational issues, not being able to think, not being able to function well. And also kids that are growing up on junk food become addicted to it. And it's really, really hard for them to move into healthy eating from there. So we're basically helping keep people demobilized. We're really hurting ourselves in doing so, because these are people who can contribute substantially to our community if they're actively, healthily eating and able to participate meaningfully in the community. Penn, do you want to talk a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I stated previously, I kind of came on board right as Invisible was already in motion. So, stuff was happening, and it was great. And I instantly, I really was intrigued by, all of the process between, pre-production with, coming up with questions for the interviews and all of that, to post-production, to, observing, editing, and trying to, figure out and being able to watch that and learn that process too a little bit. And so it really opened my eyes working on this documentary. I was homeschooled and had a very sheltered childhood. And so right around the time when I came to live with my dad, around 15 and a half, that's when I came to work for Time for Change. So it was a really good learning experience for me. And I would say just being able to help on something that's so much bigger than myself was something I'd never had an opportunity to do before, because I'm such a small portion of it, but we're all, it's just like it's this amazing message that we're trying to convey, and to even have a little fraction, part of that, and to be able to help was a really empowering feeling. And I would say I learned a lot, and I'm just really, really happy I've had the experience to work on it. yeah, do you have any other questions that you have for me with that? I'm sorry.
I just have a question for the group, and I apologize. Instead of picking someone out, but was everyone involved steadily surprised by the depths of the problem and the reach, and that obviously you joked that it was going to be a 6 to 7 minute short and it turned into 40 minutes. And I want to ruin your lives and say this should actually be a series. This should be there should be 10, 22-minute TV ready episodes because each topic actually deserves more breadth and more information because Lord knows it's so important. And yeah, I've been hearing about food deserts for 30, 40 years. And it's so hard for middle class, let alone upper class, but middle income Americans who have 3 gigantic supermarkets within 10 minutes of their home, as well as a freaking Walmart and Costco and Target that are all just offering everything under the sun. And it's hard for people to conceive that some people, the only place they can buy food is 7-Eleven, which is somewhere where we wouldn't even buy it. So I guess the question was, what was the experience like? Just always learning more and more about the problem and realizing there was just so much more to it.
First of all, Jeff, if you could be a little bit more quiet about talking about a series, Dixie might run with that. No, but it was interesting and it was eye-opening. It was eye-opening mainly to hear the perspectives of the people who either were helping out with people who were food insecure, or to the people who were food insecure and were in need of that little hand of assistance. It was one of those things that a lot of times I would just get mind blown during interviews because I was seeing the depth of the problem. And it makes you think a lot because you want to just say, okay, well, let's solve this. Let's figure out how to do this. But there's so many things that go into it. And there's so many different outcomes of what it's like when you are food insecure or when you don't know where to find that next meal. And I think food deserts is one of the big problems that we are having, because we were in Southeast Bakersfield and there was fast food places all up in a line, but there was no healthy markets or anything to grab food at. And even the ones that we had a lady that we interviewed who was saying that, at some of these, they're charging $9 for a gallon of milk. And so you go from this place of, oh man, food insecurity, that sucks. I'm really sorry someone has to go through that. And then you hear about it all and it's we have to do something about this. This is such a massive problem and affects so many more people than we could possibly imagine.
And another thing, I want to add something as well. We were doing this documentary during the pandemic. So the food distribution lines were really, really long. So I was really amazed of people was looking for help. Maybe in another time, we know that we have the problem, but they didn't some people say it, that they were ashamed to go to those food distribution lines. They needed, but they were okay, I'm going to wait. I'm going to try another ways. And they were ashamed to go to those places. And with the pandemic, they need to put aside all that, shame, all that, maybe that I need to do another way, because some of them lose their jobs. Some of them were working at home. They stay all day at home. So when we were interviewed, the people that were in the food distribution, it was really, for me, it was really, it changed my life. I learned a lot of that, those that shared their stories with me, because to be honest, for them, I'm just another person in the world. So they didn't know me. So that people shares the stories with you is really it's like a gift, because you're learning about about your community, you are learning about the problem, and you're trying to do something. That maybe that's one of the points that we want to share in the documentary, that everyone can help and you can do like tiny things to make a huge change, and that's important. So yeah, the pandemic was like something that maybe put the food insecurity name out there more frequently than other years because everyone was in need.
I'd love to give Izzy a chance to jump in here too. We haven't given her an opportunity yet, and I know that she has a unique perspective, both working as staff and on the film team.
Just to piggyback off of what Jackie said, it was really interesting to hear people's stories, and especially when we were out in the community, helping out with these food distributions, and just even seeing how some of these people did not have transportation. So they relied on other people to come and get this food. So if they didn't have that specific person to give them a ride, like they were out of food, like there was nothing that they could do in that sense because either they weren't driving or they had some sort of disability. And so we don't really think about all these factors that some people or some of these challenges that some of these people might be facing, unless you're living it. And so that kind of was really eye-opening for me as well. And just hearing, like I said, the people's stories. And then from there on, partnering with other organizations just kind of opened the doors for us to also then collaborate with them. And even right now, one of the people that we did interview through this documentary, now we are collaborating with in a current project. So it's like all these kind of doors kind of opened up because of this. And, we hope that it reaches a lot of people and get more people interested in the topic, because once we have, mass people interested, then we can make more advocacy for these changes, to have more stores, healthy stores in these proximities where people actually need them. So that way, there's not a mom walking with 5 or 6 kids going on the bus, trying to get groceries, hauling stuff, things like that. So.
That's wonderful to hear that someone who was a subject is now being collaborative. Is that what Time for Change is heading towards? Is beyond the documentary? Is it working out? Because when you talk about transportation problems, food banks only solve a problem temporarily for those who can get there. So is it, and are you talking? Are there pieces coming together? I guess I'm searching for a nice answer.
So, Nick, you want to talk about those TV episodes? No, actually, we really benefited from producing this film and being honored by the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. And also we got into a couple of other film festivals, and that was unique and exciting for us, but I think it opened the door. It gave us some credibility as a young organization to really demonstrate what our young people could do. And that led to us getting a very large grant from the Sierra Health Foundation. And so we are now working on a new documentary that is going to be a couple of years in the making. And it is focused on Southeast Bakersfield, which is a very impoverished area of our community. And it's going to be doing exactly what Henry was talking about. It's going to be pulling back the curtain on some of the social, economic, and racial disparities that have led to youth substance use and families that are not thriving in the way that they could. That particular community has a very rich, resourceful history, and it's a very diverse community. And we're looking forward to both celebrating its resourcefulness and its diversity, but also telling the stories of the real people who live there and the kinds of choices they have to make and the kinds of things in their environment that impact them that most of us who don't live in that area don't even consider. There's so much that we take for granted. For example, where I live, we don't have the proximity of liquor stores and marijuana dispensaries within 1,000 feet of a school. We don't have billboards that are targeting our young people with tobacco, vaping products, and alcohol. There's just a number of things that exist in that community. I don't live in a food desert. I can easily access food, and I can go across town if I need to because I have a car. There are people who are working hard but can't afford those things. And when they do get to the point where they can afford those things, they move out of that community. So the community stays poor. So we're going to be talking a lot about that in this new documentary. And our youth, we have a whole new crop of young people who are just chomping at the bit to get out there and do the work. And I think it's going to be a really exciting project over the next few years.
I'm going to jump in and ask for the five of you who are blossoming and growing, and I assume you're continuing your educations or moving on to careers or staying involved with Time for Change. How great is it to watch the next generation of students come in? Look, yeah.
I want to say it's really exciting because we do have new youth coming on board, and it's great to see them being, to be hands-on with the equipment, with the camera, and getting them excited. They're super excited just to learn, to want to get involved. And to me, that's like the best aspect of bringing the new youth, and even some of the current youth that we have, like Penelope, who discovered her love for photography and is moving on to, doing greater things with that too. So it's such a great, it's like a little transitions in with the youth. They come in, they're a little bit shy, they're quiet, and then later on you just see them, either interviewing or taking over camera or sound, whatever it may be, even writing. I think it's just, it's such a rewarding thing for me personally.
For me, it's really excited. I leave Time for Change, sadly, 2 months ago, because I start a new chapter in my life working in TV, on TV, like a multimedia journalist. But for me, it's really, I don't know, it's like seeing them like growing is really amazing. Before I left, a lot of youth became a new Time for Change members. And it's amazing just to see the pictures and see how they are growing there and learning new things, learning how to do documentary. And it's really amazing because I remember like a year ago when I was working with Nick and with all the team on the documentary when we were editing, because obviously Nick had some experience and I have another experience. So it was like put together that experience and mix it to create the documentary and the editing. And it was amazing because it was like, Nick was like, no, I want to do it this way. And I was like, no, I want to do it this way. And it was like really, it was a match. We tried to like put together our knowledge, and it was amazing. And now I can see how the new youth is growing, learning how to work in a team and create a beautiful projects. So yeah, I'm really excited for them and for all the things that they are working on.
Well, I have to jump in and say that it was very amusing, actually, to watch Nick and Jackie incarcerated in a room, about 8 hours a day for months, trying to get this thing edited. And two different people you could not meet, and they absolutely were magic together. And I think that is part of the collaborative process that is so much fun to watch as we watch these young people really get to know each other and start to benefit from each, not in a competitive way, but to actually see how they can benefit from each other and to really create a real serious and exciting and creative team.
Yeah, Jackie inspired a more filmmaking oriented question from me, which is, I see the credits and I know three of you, right? Jackie, Nicholas, and Izzy, all three are, and Dixie actually makes 4 of 5 listed directors. So obviously there was so much breadth and so much material, but what was it like having 5 directors collaborate on something that everyone, it was a learning process and the subject kept growing? Did you just feel like a tight-knit team, or I heard about some heads butting?
I would say it actually went shockingly smooth. Of course, at different points, we all had different ideas on what works, what doesn't. It's part of the creative process. And it's good that we do have that because it could only push it to higher levels in terms of a film standpoint. but it worked well together. We were all in close communication, in good conversation about where we want this to head, what we want this to do. And so I would say, you know, in terms of me and Jackie butting heads on things, it was never like like you're wrong, I'm right. But it was rather, what if we try this? What if we try that? And it was a really productive way of doing things because, you know, I think actually contrary to what Dixie said, I think it was a competition between me and Jackie, but not in the way of, oh, I want to be better than you, or I want to show that I'm the real editor, or I'm the real director, but rather we like, oh, I want to make this look as good as possible. I do too. You know, let's push it to that next level. And so, you know, yeah, it's a lot of directors, but it really all went smoothly. And I felt like there was a similar direction from everybody the whole time.
And more than enough work to go around, I assume. Yeah, everyone just nodded yes. And I actually loved hearing that Jackie's moving forward with a career in journalism. So it truly was an inspiration, because had you even considered that, or did this project in Time for Change actually just sort of give you an avenue to take and realize that you can pursue a career of this sort?
Well, actually, since I was really, really young, I was looking forward to work on TV, like journalist or acting. So I was always looking for that. In Mexico, I work on TV, but I was TV host from a show. And now when I moved to United States, I was looking for the opportunity, but obviously it was hard. But for me to work with Time for Change, it was like an inspiration, because just like saw around what they were doing in the community, knowing that I can learn a lot of, not only for my personal growing, but obviously the growing that I think that I miss up there. But it was like a process. I grow a lot because I learned not only that I can do different things, or I can give a message to the community through the journalist or through the TV. Either way, I can do it with working with an organization that is trying to give a message to the people through filmmaking. I never expect to be like behind the camera, because I'm more like, I like to be in front of the camera and do things. And for me, it was like a really amazing process to work behind the camera, because I learned like a lot. And now that helps me to be a multimedia journalist, because now I need to do filming, I need to do editing, I need to do the interviews. So it was like a school for me to for now it's simple working on TV, because I have all the bases, and I was practicing during my time with Time for Change.
Yeah, when you just talked about multimedia, are there arms of Time for Change reaching? I guess I'm just going to ask the dumb question of like, are you cutting clips to put on TikTok? Because maybe TikTok can be more than just dumb song sync videos, and maybe people come across 30-second clips that'll inspire them to, inspire people.
Right now, I'm not doing that, but I know that they are working. I think that they in Time for Change are working with that. But for example, for me, it helps me a lot, like doing like small videos for the social media, and that not for TikTok, but for another platforms. I don't know, Dixie. I know that you were gonna talk, so sorry that I jumped in.
No, I'm delighted that you did. Yeah, we do have a little series of shorts that we're doing called Stories of Kern. And really, it's just trying to highlight some really interesting people, just everyday stories. There's one thing that Invisible taught us, it's that everybody has a story. And when you start to understand people's stories and I think Jackie and others have spoken about this, it humanizes people. You can no longer treat them as objects. You can no longer write them off. They're human beings. And once they become human beings, you have an obligation to do what you can, to get their story out there and to destigmatize if that happens to be the issue they're facing. So I think it just gives us a lot of opportunity and a lot of scope to become more compassionate neighbors and more compassionate human beings, I think. Penn, I see you nodding. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
It is absolutely, I think all that you said, I was just really, really agreeing with. I feel like, once it's brought to your attention, and once you see it, I don't know how to phrase my thought quite, but once you see humans as, once you really look at the issue, as you just pointed out, it's so hard to ignore it. It is inhumane that some people are not able to eat nutritiously, not able to have food on their table, wondering when their next meal is. That should be the last thing that should be anyone's problems. Like that's a bare necessity, to be able to get by. And so the fact that there are people, struggling and concerned about that and not knowing, and there's such a stigma, it's really heartbreaking. But I feel like, once it becomes a wider talked about issue, and it isn't something that we, is just hid behind doors, and there's like, okay, this is the issue. How are we going to try and fix it, and it is so much bigger than that, of course, but yeah, I would say that. Sorry, I kind of lost where I was going there, but yeah.
Well, I want to ask you a question, because you got interested in photography through this, and still photography.
Yeah. I actually just got my second magazine cover. One of my photos is on there. So I'm really excited about that. And I've had a lot of amazing opportunities with photography, and planning on moving to LA next year and pursuing that, with school and stuff, just art in general. But yeah, photography was something that I stumbled on within Time for Change too. Izzy, actually, I talked to her a lot about that. She's an amazing photographer, amazing artist. Nick too, all Henry, Jackie, everyone here, I picked, all of their brains, amazing people. And I would just say, it was Time for Change. It's really catered to what there's so many things you can do to help. And I would say I had the opportunity to shoot pictures, with relating to Invisible a little bit, with social media, but just with Time for Change a lot too. I had that opportunity, and I was able to then take, the knowledge in the film trainings that we'd learn, all of that in, interviews, take all of that knowledge and kind of expand it, even more. So now I have a studio space running in my house, and it's gotten to a whole new level that I couldn't have ever imagined. And it's from Time for Change, truly. Like I couldn't be more grateful to have been able to, lean on them and learn so much from them, and just, be able to be a part of the process. It's been, it's taken me places that I couldn't ever imagine, like it's the connections. So yeah.
And I just have to add that I've always considered photojournalism to be an amazing thing, an amazing practice, because just like the title of your film, I think whoever came up with it, actually, I never found out who came up with it, but to say the unseen faces, because when you take photos of a face and it's a still photo of a human face, I think that does knock down barriers. And of course, everything you all are doing is about knocking down barriers, and to see the people's faces, I think is just so important, because it does humanize people, maybe as much so or even more than interviews and talking, because human beings are very emotional, and I guess evolutionarily responding to faces is kind of what we're all about. But listening to people, sometimes you tune out, but you can really lock into a photograph of someone's face and really just start gaining from it.
It's funny that you asked how we got to the part of coming up with the title of the film, because speaking of collaboration, I still remember the day that we were all sitting in the training room together. and we were trying to come up with a name, and Invisible came up right away, I think, from someone. We really struggled with the subtitle. What do we really want to say here? And I know we debated over particular words, and at the end, boom, we had the name, and it was truly a group effort. It was not any one person who decided on that. And I think that is a great microcosm of exactly what Time for Change is. The other thing I want to say about that, and that I think is really exciting about Time for Change, this isn't all we do. We do other things in the community as well. We do a lot of service projects. We work with schools. We've done some tutoring and some mentoring. We've done some tobacco prevention education. We do a lot of surveying. We help out some of our county agencies with some of their projects. So we do a lot in the community. We bring in literally youth from every background and every economic background that you can think of. It's a very, very diverse group. And I think what's exciting is that it becomes a very tight-knit team very quickly. Every time we bring a new person in, I'm always impressed by the way our young people reach out and pull that newcomer in to become part of the group. When they're working together, you would never have any idea as to who came from a privileged background and who came from an underprivileged background. It is one team. It's one group of people. There's a lot of mutual respect. And I've been really kind of amazed myself at how well people get along. There really isn't a lot of competition about being better than. It's about all of us bettering each other and ourselves. And I think it's adults as well. And I think it's been quite a process to watch.
I'm gonna ask another one of those questions that people will say, no, that's too much work, Jeff. But is there any kind of outreach to other communities? Like, are you sending Time for Change representatives to other cities and other parts of? I would just love to see you like go places. And oh, by the way, important question: Time for Change, was it born out of a specific school, or it's unrelated to an educational institution?
That is correct. We work closely with educational institutions, but it was myself and a handful of colleagues that came up with the idea, and it was some of the young people I'd been working with before who came up with the name. We sat there in my van one day as we were out surveying in the community and debated. I think Henry was there, and I don't think Penn was there, but Nick was there, and we were sitting there debating over what we would call the organization, and the whole idea of Time for Change, and how do we capture who and what we are, which is 16 to 24-year-olds, transitional youth that are transitioning from adolescence to adulthood. And, open door, whoever wants to come and be part of this, please fill out an application. We'd love to welcome you. And I wish we could go national and international. They tell you I have big vision, and it scares them to death. I don't think we're quite ready to do that yet, but what a worthwhile process.
Obviously, my leading question was, I'd love to change the word Kern in your title to America. And if you could send Henry to, Texas and start a Time for Change chapter in Texas, that'd be just amazing. Also, because I hate to bring it up, but I'm aware that there are some parts of the USA that think California is some weird beast that they don't identify with now. They're sort of demonizing us in a way. And if we could just show that every state we're just all humans, and everyone has the same problems and the same blind spots and the same barriers between communities, it'd be pretty wonderful.
I want to throw that out to Henry and others to speak to, but I do want to say, in such a polarized culture as we live in now, I think that humanizing faces is where we need to be. I don't care how far apart our politics may be. We still share many, many common values. And if we can start focusing on those common values, then we have the potential to really do some great things and really do some transformative things. And I think if there's one message I would like our young people to leave Time for Change with, that would be the message.
All right, well, let's throw it over to someone who hasn't. I don't think we have heard from Henry for a little while. if actually we're creeping up on an hour. So actually, Henry, you want to talk about what your plans are moving forward for yourself?
Well, I'm kind of in a transition state personally. I've come up on like officially 1 year of gap year. I've taken the time to sort of take a break from my education, sit down, think about what I really want to do with my life, and I've tossed a few ideas around. At first, I was an art major, and then it just wasn't working out. I kind of fell out of love with art, and the gap years really brought it back to me. But I've started thinking about what I want to do with my life, and I don't know. Lately, I've kind of been. I don't want to say like I don't take my job seriously, because that's not the case, but I think taking it more seriously than I already had. I have been considering working with like young people as like a permanent career. I'm not too sure in what way, whether it would be like social work or working with kids in the foster system, or just I'm not sure exactly what avenue, but I really enjoy working with young people. It turns out that was kind of a surprise to me, honestly, because like I have siblings, I have younger cousins, but when you live with them, it's different than when you get to go to work and like, oh hey, there's my kids, versus coming home and it's like they're bothering you for, hey, check out this cool video of a rock that I found or whatever. But I've taken the time to sort of reassess my future, and working at Time for Change has really like I guess rejuvenated my mind, opened me up to other possibilities, and considered more than I had previously thought about.
Yeah, and I know AmeriCorps was mentioned, and I mean, I think AmeriCorps is wonderful, like because it's intended for like gap year kind of things, right? Just to, because Lord, I'm envious of other countries where young people finish high school and before college or before career get a chance to see more of the world and meet more people, and because I think a lot of people aren't aware of all the possibilities there are in life, and you just think I've got to go to school and then go to work in the same kind of and you only know the careers you see. You don't. A lot of people. Hell, my brother-in-law, his father was a doctor, and his father was a doctor, and he, when he found out I run a film festival or two, he was like, I had no idea that was possible.
I'll tell you that Henry is an example of someone who started out as youth participant at 18 years of age, 17 years of age, 3.5 years ago, and is now one of our staff members. So, there's that opportunity as well. And we have youth in our program now who have been working in the fields with their parents over the summer and still making the time to come and be part of Time for Change, coming out exhausted from 100+ degree weather and then going out and surveying or providing childcare on site while we're running focus groups or whatever it might be. So we have some amazing, dedicated, exciting young people that are part of us. And I think what's been eye-opening for me is recognizing that this is the capacity of most or all of our young people. It's, again, getting to know them and getting to understand some of the cares and some of the concerns in their lives, and then giving them the opportunity to make a meaningful difference in their community. That is what is empowering. We don't have to fix anyone. We have to create opportunity for them. And I think that's been an exciting process as part of Time for Change.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to ask other volunteers around the screen in front of me to talk about their personal plans moving forward. And I'm going to add, I do know Penelope mentioned photography moving to LA. Sherman Oaks Film Festival, we pay our photographers $25 an hour at the festival. So make sure you get my email from Dixie, because if you're in LA in November, we have a standard photographer, but it's always great to get more shots. So
absolutely, I will definitely reach out.
Oops, you somehow muted yourself mid-sentence.
Oh no, okay. I will definitely, sorry about that. I will definitely be reaching out. Thank you. That sounds like an amazing opportunity. Thank you so much.
All right, anyone else want to jump in with their next, what their next plans are, and if Time for Change or this documentary affected it?
I'd say personally, well, right now, I think kind of Dixie has a hold of me right now with Time for Change, because I think I'm like one of their only Spanish speakers at the moment, which is essential. But I think like at the time, I really enjoy my time with Time for Change, and I enjoy the current projects that we have going on. So I see myself there as of now. But I think as far as like the documentary style filmmaking of it, I had mentioned this to, I don't remember if it was Jackie or one of the other coworkers that we had before with AmeriCorps, but I personally wanted to do kind of like documentary filmmaking, but like kind of like on the side for me, for my own like personal, like going back to Mexico and with the indigenous communities out there on certain topics that I was interested about, and just kind of doing my own gig with that. Because I started with photos about that, about different issues in cultures, and just stuff to do with culture. So more of that like anthropological side of it, like the culture anthropology, because that's really enticing to me. So personally, I think I'd like to kind of get back on that. And now with the knowledge that I have and some of the education and things that I will continue to learn, I can only like push myself further to do that. I don't know when exactly, because I would have to be out of the country to do that, to really focus and take a hiatus. But I think I still have it in my head that I want to do that. So maybe in the future.
Excellent. That was Izzy. Jackie, you want to go next? I guess we kind of know what you're aiming for.
Well, right now I'm still working at the TV news station, but I want to move forward on that area. Eventually, I want to do some acting, some working on the in another areas on TV. I would love to do that, but more in front of camera and communicating with people in front of the camera. So that's what I love. That's my passion. And I think I don't know, right now it's just like a lot of things happening in my life, trying to embrace myself in this new chapter. And I think that it's amazing. And I would love to win some awards. I'm just hoping to work really hard in my stories and to win some of the awards that the TV do. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
And I think next up is Nick.
I mean, the documentary definitely shifted my perspective on things that I want to pursue. And I definitely want to continue pursuing filmmaking and photography, but more as a passion sided thing, not so much of a career. I'm going into pastoring, and I'm studying theology. And so that's my main passion.
I mean, another great way to help the community.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, anybody else want to throw something in before we wrap up? And I'll just add, as Dixie was about to speak, I was about to say, like, what an amazing legacy you're creating, because Time for Change seems like I'm just really want to congratulate you on that grant you mentioned, and that you're able, obviously, hopefully that'll enable you to staff up and take the most promising young people and keep them involved and turn into careers. Hopefully obviously, as someone who, our film festival is run by a nonprofit, and I understand what a pain in the neck grant writing is. And if you've succeeded, that means hopefully there will be more success in grant writing and just growing the organization.
We just want to thank you so much for the privilege of being able to be part of the Sherman Oaks Film Festival and to be recognized, to have that film recognized, and then to have this wonderful opportunity to be on Amazon Prime with so many other great films. So this has been an incredible inspiration. It's keeping us moving in the documentary filmmaking arena. So we have a lot to be grateful for to you.
Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, Henry.
I just wanted to add, dude. Sorry for saying dude. I'm used to talking to my friends. But this has just been such an incredible journey. Like, if you went back in time and told my younger self, hey, you're going to have like a film credit as a narrator, you're going to be on Amazon Prime, I would never have believed you. This is not anywhere near what I expected my life trajectory to be. But I'm so grateful to have been afforded the opportunity to be where I am right now, be doing what I'm doing, and have opportunities like this, because I never in a million years would have ever guessed that this is what I would be doing. And it's been a fantastic and incredible journey. And I just want to thank you for giving young people like us a chance to not only have a spotlight, but to have like a national spotlight as well. So
thank you so much. International, our TV series is in the UK also, not Australia and Canada yet. Somehow Amazon's like, no, those, obviously we only get to go to English speaking markets, but people in the UK can watch this and hopefully there will be a UK chapter someday of Time for Change. But thank you so much for the compliment. I mean, honestly, we run a film festival because we love indie film. We think the work of people who make films from their hearts because it's something that's important to them, and it's not, not to poke at Hollywood, but it's not a committee sitting around going, what superhero will make us the most money 3 summers from now? These are films made for the best of reasons, even if it is self-indulgence, which your film is not self-indulgent, but when you watch season 6 of Discovery Indie Film, you'll see, wow, there's some really good self-indulgent stuff, which is meant that an artistic person just had an idea and cared so much about it, they probably used their own money to get it on screen. I just think all the filmmakers like yourselves are doing something really special, and we're just happy to have a platform to try to help you get it to the world. I wish, now I'll just share how sad I am that we don't have our 10,000, 20,000 viewers per week anymore. But it's wonderful. It's wonderful just to know that Discover Indie Film is a platform for people to see a film like yours, as well as all the comedy. The first episode's got crazy comedy in it. We've got a crazy film with puppets, and one of them is Iggy Pop, and it's voiced by the Iggy Pop. If that name probably doesn't mean a lot to young people, but fair enough. All right. Well, I guess I'll wrap it up. And Henry, I'm going to try to remember, because I know we tend to have the credits in the festival. There's so few films with narrators, we often don't credit narrator. So I got to make sure that on IMDb, we list you as narrator. Because I think we just list like producers and directors, and but your film has a narrator, so I got to make sure you get that credit. How cool will that be? Like, go to imdb.com and Discover Indie Film Season 6, Episode 10, narrated by. It's got to happen. Even if I gotta, I hate working the back end of IMDb myself, but maybe I'll have to. No, we got an IMDb person. I'll send them an email. So anyway. anyone wants IMDb credits, have Dixie send me a list of things to add for your episode. It'd be fun because I mean, so many more people contributed, I know, in so many ways that are not your traditional actors, directors, writers kind of thing. So it'd definitely be fun to include people because, you know, IMDb is sort of the bane of our existence, right? You can't watch a TV show without opening it on your phone and looking up like the actor you're looking at. Where have I seen that person before? So anyway, all right, well, I guess it's, anyone want to throw something in before I do the ending spiel? All right, I guess I'm going to do the ending spiel to the episode. Well, anyone, just unmute yourself and name the website and social media and stuff for Time for Change.
Izzy, jump on.
Yeah, so anybody can just search us up at TYM4Change.org or just TYM4C and Time for Change. So all of that, if you just search us up, you'll find our Instagram, you'll find our Facebook. We have a LinkedIn, and then as well as our YouTube, where you can actually watch the documentary itself. So just Time for Change, search us up on Google. We're the first one that pops up.
That's great. And so it's at TYM4C on social media. And then you all have managed to get TYM4C.com.
Yes. So for the actual website, right, Dixie, it's TYM4Change.org.
Correct. TYM numeral 4 CHANGE.org.
.org. That's good. And that'll be in the show notes for those of people listening who want to click on it. If you're using a phone, if you're going on the web, in the notes with this episode, I'll put those two links.
Yeah. I just wanted to add our Instagram, our most active one, is TYM numeral 4_C. So just for the spelling or the whatever, there's an underscore in it.
Thank you so much. I would have hoped I would have the diligence to check, but you prevented me from putting the wrong Instagram. So it's at TYM4_C. Perfect. All right. Well, as long as we're talking about Instagram and websites, I will share. As I said at the beginning, very proud to say that Invisible, The Unseen Faces of Hunger and Kern is the Discovery Indie Film TV series. If anyone wants to learn more about the series, you can do so if you go to discoverindiefilm.com, and on social media, it's at DIFwins. By the way, if you're listening to this, please like and subscribe and write a nice review if you have the time. You know, it helps. I believe this is going to be like episode 302 of this podcast. And there aren't 302 like thumbs up on it. So, you know, that just means like I'm not even averaging one per, like there's probably on average 1.3 people on the podcast per episode, and they're not even clicking like. So I'm asking all 6 of you to like give a nice review. But anyway, more importantly, if you go to Amazon Prime Video and type in Discover Indie Film, at some point it'll autocomplete and it'll come up. Watch season 6, watch episode 10 in particular, for Invisible, The Unseen Faces of Hunger and Kern. And please also, and it is not free. It's actually, we used to be free included with Prime. Now it's 99 cents an episode or $7.99 for the season. And I'll add 20 indie films made from people's hearts. $8 for 20 films. Not a bad deal. You know, it doesn't, you know, it's not the worst deal ever. So please watch the series, at least watch the episode, The Unseen Faces of Hunger and Kern, for 99 cents, and then give it 5 stars. You know, go on there. I know people tend to, if you watch something bad, you're more likely to write a review than if you watch something good and inspiring. But please be inspired by Invisible, The Unseen Faces of Hunger and Kern, and go on, I think actually most platforms too and please watch it on a big TV, because the cinematography, we didn't even talk about the cinematography because we're so busy talking about the Faces of Hunger, but the film looks wonderful. I mean, I think most people who would watch it would not would not believe that it's just a program for transitional youth, and 16 to 24 made something that looks as good as what you see on the huge streaming services and networks and things. So it's really great work. So go on, watch it, and then go on Amazon.com and look it up and give it 5 stars and write a review of what you think, please, because that'd be nice. And so I mentioned those 2 things. We kept mentioning Sherman Oaks Film Festival. We hold that every November. So it's coming up on me too soon and I'm stressed out. But if you want to learn more about that festival, it's ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And there is a sister festival every June. That's Film Invasion Los Angeles. You can learn about it if you go to FilmInvasionLA.com, and it's at FilmInvasionLA on social media. And I have finished my ending rant. I might be able to, my eyes are blurry, so I'm going to throw on glasses, and I'm just going to thank Henry Amaya, Izzy Zamora, Nicholas Halsey, Penelope Dills, and Jackie Magana. Thank you all, and Dr. Dixie King. Thank you all 6 for hopping on Zoom and doing this. This was a really good, fun chat, important film. And thank you all 6. And for those who aren't familiar with this podcast, we're actually going to stop recording and then start recording again. And people are just going to talk about their favorite movies for a couple minutes, because that'll be a fun little exercise. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, anyone and everyone who listened to this. Thank you so much.